Hey everybody, so I am bored once again. It is very late into the night, basically the morning. So I said, hey, let me go look at more from the Raptors' last game against the Orlando Magic. Now we saw a lot from Scottie Barnes. We got a new article from Michael Grange as well on Sportsnet. And we've seen a couple stats flying about Scottie Barnes and it's specifically his defense. And this kind of ticked me off. Basically, a stat out there that is floating around is that players guarded by Scottie Barnes, according to player tracking, shot 9 of 10 from the field in the last game. Now, here's the thing. I watched the game. Scottie Barnes did not defend well. Quite frankly, defended quite poorly at times. But also, the team defended poorly. A lot of times when a team defends poorly, it is not just one player. It is usually the entire team. The scheme the Raptors run requires a pretty coordinated effort, and it requires a lot of proactive movement. So when players aren't engaged, they're not trying together as a team, they're not being aggressive enough, it's going to look bad. Also, the Magic shot pretty well, so it is what it is. But let's kind of get into the box score and these defensive stats and why they're kind of crap. So let's take a look at it. So basically, to get here, you go to NBA.com, you go to the box score, and you can go over to defense. So let's take a look at these defensive stats. So this will show you defensive minutes. So again, they played 50. Scottie Barnes played 32 minutes. Apparently 13 minutes of those are on defense. Not terribly sure about that, but let's kind of look at what type of defensive stats they put together. So it says defensive field goals made, defensive field goals out. So they hit 9 and 10 for the game, and one of that was a three-pointer where they shot 100%. He also accounted for one turnover. We're going to take a look at the video of this in a bit, but I do kind of want to stop here for a second and say why this is so stupid. So basically how they track this is you are the closest player contesting the shot, which is okay. It's not bad, but that doesn't mean that you are necessarily responsible for the defensive mistake that is leading to that basket, to that player being in an advantageous position, that offensive player being in an advantageous position. So it's not exactly the best metric to look at. Also, when we kind of look at this, it's like, does this really prove defense? Much it might just show deterrence. It might show how good the contest was, maybe. But we can take a look at the actual film here and go into it. What I do want to look at is, though, before we move on, is the quantity. So defensive field goals attempted. So this says in the game, Scottie Barnes, yes, 90% of the shots that he contested went in. But more importantly, he contested 10 shots in this game. Which now, when you're looking across the board, the Raptors didn't have a whole lot of contests, but it is what it is. So they said 13 defensive minutes, 62 partial possessions. He had 10 contests. If you go down to the Magic, if you look at the Magic players that had Moritz Wagner, 62 partial possessions, about 12 minutes, 28 contests. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner, 12 minutes, 68, 8 contests. Now, the number of contests may just matter on who a team is targeting. The Raptors clearly targeted Moritz Wagner. He ended up guarding Pascal Siakam a lot in switches. He ended up on Fred VanVleet in a lot of switches. So he ended up guarding a lot of shots. So the Raptors, they switch a lot, so you'll see it be a lot more even. That being said, only 10 field goal attempted that Scottie Barnes guarded. The Raptors did run a pretty short rotation, so it's not like he wasn't out there for a fair bit of time. When we look at Scottie's season averages, he averages about 15 contests a game. So in terms of defensive activity, probably a bit on the lower end. Maybe he was targeted a bit less in this game, but also 10 kind of low for a game. If you go back to his 2022 averages last year, he's guarding about 16 shots a game. So definitely on the low end here in terms of shots he actually defended in this game, and that kind of goes across the board. The Raptors didn't do a whole lot of defending. And we can also take a look at that in a different way. But for now, let's get into his shots because we're a couple minutes into this bit already. So we will start here with some of the stupid things. So Scottie Barnes forced a turnover. This is the forced turnover stat that they are recording. So boom, Scottie Barnes with this great defense to force this turnover. Now, of course, I'm just pointing this out, not to hate on Scottie Barnes by any means, but this is just like when we get into Defensive Player of the Year discussion, they're going to talk about, oh, this player forced this many turnovers. That counts as a turnover. He was the closest to that player when Markelle Fultz decided to, is that Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz? That was Cole Anthony decided just to throw the ball out of bounds. Great stat to keep, right? Amazing. Good job player tracking. But that is a stat that people are going to look at and use without ever having seen the video. And that's fine. Is this maybe more of an anomaly than it might be like, hey, someone actually forced a turnover? Maybe. But how much can you really say there? So let's look at the actual shots. So we're going to get right to the shots. We're going to start at the top, and we'll go into it. I'll pause these. Again, these are pretty quick, so my apologies if the power play. So this is the first play of the game for the Magic. So we're going to start here. Fred VanVleet's on ball. Scottie Barnes on Paolo Banchero. You got Pascal Siakam here. Markel Fultz calling for a screen from Mo Wagner. Up here, so he calls up to get the screen. Gets the screen. Flips it. So Fred is now behind the play. Coloco's guarding 2 on the ball. Markel attacks the left side. Scottie is at the elbow. The Raptors like to trap at the elbow. Just kind of pinch in to, force a pass or, just create a turnover. Scottie does a good job reaching in. Pascal flashes up to cut off the rim. And Markel Fultz passes out to the corner. Now Scottie's job on this closeout. Close out hard without fouling and force his player off 3-point line. Does this successfully. Paolo takes a dribble in. The Raptors give away this mid-range jumper, which is part of their strategy. I'm sorry for having this stupid button here. Which is part of the strategy to give this shot up. As you can see, Pascal Siakam gets a contest. Paolo Banchero makes a shot. Great shot made. But anyways, that goes against Scottie Barnes' record for some reason, even though he was not the closest player to that shot. But hey, it's there. Great stat keeping. Now we go here. Scottie Barnes guarding Paolo Banchero. Paolo asks for a screen. Scottie gets hit by the screen. He's level with his body. Now he gets caught kind of behind. Paolo does a good job bursting in. Fred VanVleet doesn't pinch in that hard here. And now you have Christian Coloco guarding 2. OG Anunoby cheating in to kind of cut off this rim. You'll see Paolo Banchero here go straight to the rim and lay it up on Christian Coloco, and this counts against Scottie Barnes. Is this kind of his fault? Maybe a little bit. He did get caught behind the screen, but again, great stuff from Paolo Banchero, and the Raptors team defense, not really there. Again, Christian Coloco, you're right in front of the ball. I know you're guarding 2, but you can have Scottie, you're probably expecting Fred and Pascal to pinch in a little bit and apply a little bit of pressure. You shouldn't be able to get a straight line drive from here. Like, we're looking at this again. One more time. Again, boom. Straight down the middle. Literally nobody stopping the ball. Nobody steps in to stop the lane of the ball. He gets a straight line drive to the rim. Makes the layup. And for some reason, this is on Scottie Barnes' record. Now here we are again. Scottie Barnes in a straight post up. This is the one credited shot that, he actually stopped. Terrible shot here by Mo Bamba. I guess, this is 100%. This is a post move I go to a lot, personally. But this is something you practice all the time. Turn around over the right shoulder. Shoot it. Disgusting execution. There's no, that was a good contest, but that's a terrible shot. Whatever. All right, here, Paolo Banchero. So this play I want to go back to a little bit. There's a lot going on here. So here you see Paolo Banchero gets in the post on Chris Boucher, I think this is. And you see that Fred VanVleet has come to double the ball. Now, the double is coming from the opposite corner, which is the furthest pass, because then this passes. If Paolo Banchero tries to make this pass, there are quite a few arms that can steal the ball. It also gives Fred VanVleet the most time to get back from the double to contest his man, or the Raptors just rotate around. That's the reason for the double coming from the opposite corner. So he comes to the double. The double is successful. Paolo Banchero gets on the back foot, dribbles out now to 18, and now he's looking for a pass. He's giving up his dribble. He's picked up the ball. You see Scottie Barnes here, sees Franz Wagner flashing in the middle, reacts a little bit late here, but still does react, gets into the play. We'll just rewind a little bit. See Franz already on the move. Scottie should probably getting caught a little bit ball watching here. Franz Wagner flashes middle. Paolo's unable to make this pass, so the Raptors kind of luck out here. Thad Young's ahead of his guy, so he can help here. Scottie can tag off here. So you see here Paolo unable to see the pass because he's looking for the opposite 3 because he knows Fred's guarding him. Doesn't see the man here that's open because he sees Terrence Ross is covered, and the man, again, there's no line of sight, so he can't really see Cole Anthony in the other corner. Now Scottie trades off with Thad Young. Thad Young gets on Franz Wagner. Raptors kind of luck out that he gets missed on that cut. Scottie is now guarding a block. Fred VanVleet is now looking like, okay, he has to go back to finding his man. Paolo Banchero is about to make a pass. He's close. Fred assumes that he's going to try the cross-court pass to the open man. So, as you see, Fred quickly glances where the open man is, sees Paolo's about to make a pass, and he flashes here to try and get a swipe on the ball in the air, knowing that what's going to happen is if the ball does get here, either Scottie's going to rotate here, Gary's going to rotate here. You trust your team defense. So Fred VanVleet swipes to the ball in the passing lane, doesn't happen. Paolo actually passes to Terrence Ross instead. Now you got the Raptors in rotation. Scottie Barnes stepping up to Cole Anthony, coming off his man. Fred VanVleet going down, take his man. Scottie goes for the closeout, sends Cole Anthony wide. Could he send him a little bit wider? Maybe, but that wasn't a terrible job. Sorry, NBA.com's going to be bad here. So we're just going to reload this clip. Again, play goes out to Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony's going to drive a little wide. Probably not wide enough, but it's not terrible. Scottie Barnes a little bit behind the, and then, you give up a floater at the end of the shot clock. Again, you forced Raptors defense pretty good. The Magic get a shot at the end of the shot clock. It's a free throw line floater. You can kind of live with that. Could Scottie have closed out a little bit better? Maybe, but again, you're in recovery. Wasn't a terrible possession defensively, but maybe he could have gotten a better contest. I'm not going to blame him for that, but that's a made shot. But overall, that's a good defensive possession for the Raptors, even though it ends up in a made bucket. So we'll move on to the next play here. The next play here, again, Paolo Banchero gets a screen on OG Anunoby. Kem Birch is involved here. We'll let it play out here. So OG completely caught behind on this play. Kem Birch, again, guarding 2. OG does a good job, though, getting back in front of the roller, as you see here, basically shutting off the roller. And NBA.com's being fun today, so we'll just switch back to this play. Load it back up. There you go. So Paolo Banchero gets right into the middle here. Kem Birch is in a drop. OG's not really there. Again, Kem has to guard both because OG's falling behind off the screen. Here in recovery. Scottie Barnes is in his spot at the elbow, ready to help in. Paolo pulls up, basically at the free throw line for a jumper. Soft contest. Could he have given a harder contest? Maybe. But again, he's help in that situation. He's not necessarily the main defender. It's not a bad defensive possession. It's fine. Again, the Raptors as a whole could have been playing this a lot tighter, a lot more aggressive. For one, OG could have sent Paolo Banchero wider. They could have tried to deny him getting back middle after taking the screen, but all those things happened, so we end up with that. And that goes against Scottie Barnes' record as being a defended shot that went in. Again, why defensive stats suck. Another defensive possession. So this is one where Scottie actually does make a mistake. This is on Scottie. Primary defender on Franz Wagner. Franz calls a screen, goes the other way, chooses to reject the screen, go the other way, goes middle. Now Scottie's done a pretty good job here. You see he gives him the early bump when he rejects the screen. Right here, gives him a bump, pushes him back a little bit. Beautiful, great defense. Christian Koloko again is there. If Franz is going to take the screen, he's good. Christian Koloko tags back in middle. Now Scottie sent him. He knows he's got a helper in OG Anunoby here at the elbow if he sends him this way. One problem is, though, he lets Franz Wagner get back middle. Right there. Boom. That one crossover, and he gives this up. So just a little bit of lack of focus there, where you're sending Franz Wagner to OG Anunoby, gets a little bit too carried away, allows Franz to come back middle, and now he basically gets, so Christian Koloko here now becomes the guy who needs to pinch in, a little bit late to pinch in, so again, Scottie's out of position. Franz already has a full head of steam going straight down the middle. Breaks through both of them because Scottie's not there. Christian Koloko's not there in recovery tight enough. Pascal Siakam here on this play. Now, again, he's in the middle. He doesn't think that he probably should be stepping in here to help because the other guy's Fred. And Fred's not going to be rim protection, and Fred's boxing someone out. Pascal, though, lets it kind of go. I don't know what the foul situation here, but this is right at the start of the third quarter. So kind of poor help defense from the Raptors as well. It does start with Scottie kind of screwing up right at the top of the key and giving up a straight line drive. So this one 100% goes against Scottie's thing. It's right to start the third quarter. Not the best of attention, but hey, we live with it. All right, this play right here, the next play, Bobo gets up top. Christian Koloko guarding him. Christian Koloko gets caught on the screen, leaves OG Anunoby guarding too, and just watch what happens here with Christian Koloko. Completely out of the play. Fred VanVleet realizes he's completely out of the play, so Fred goes to try and help. And what Fred does, he knows it's bull, the ball's going to come low. He tries to get a steal here. Christian Koloko completely out of the play. Like, again, you got to be able to get back in the play when you get screened this bad. And he's completely out of the play, as you see, nowhere close. Fred VanVleet misses on the steal. Bull gets this pass off to the corner. Now, Scottie Barnes, because he sees Mo Wagner going down the lane, completely open. Again, Mo Wagner completed. Scottie has to help in from the opposite corner. So he steps in, cuts off that lane. Well done. Bull sends the ball to the opposite corner. Pascal comes in to cut off. Now, Scottie Barnes is stuck in no man's land because Christian Coloco's come down to tag this man, and Fred VanVleet's gone to cover for Pascal, and now both Scottie and OG are like, crap. The man on the entire opposite side is open. Again, this is where Coloco's kind of messed up here. And now they've got to make the long closeout. Pretty lazy closeout, to be honest. Maybe you make this closeout a little bit harder. It forces him to put the ball on the floor, but this was the longest closeout. Both of them are a little bit lazy here. And the Orlando Magic get an open three. But again, that one's a Christian Coloco mistake, and it counts against Scottie's record. It is what it is. But again, what I'm trying to show is that these defensive stats are kind of garbage because they don't really show what's happening in the play. So we'll keep going here. So this is another one here. This is in the fourth quarter now. Paolo Banchero coming down. And, all right, we're just going to go back here real quick. Paolo Banchero in transition gets the ball. Now, he's a big guy. He's got transition. First job in transition is to stop the ball. And now you got Gary Trent Jr., you got Scottie Barnes here. They seem to have, there's a little bit of gap here, but they seem to be in recovery. So, Gary Trent Jr. cuts off Paolo Banchero's right. Doesn't do a good enough job of funneling him to Scottie Barnes, but does a decent enough job. Scottie Barnes is on the back foot, doesn't pinch fast enough. Maybe because Gary needs to stop him a little bit sooner. But again, Scottie, Scottie's the bigger dude here, so you probably should be a little more centered to make sure the ball gets stopped here. Doesn't do so. And Paolo Banchero breaks through the middle of both of them, basically unharmed, and gets this giant dunk. So that's just poor transition defense, not picking up early enough, not cutting off the ball. Got to be a little bit better than that. So we'll count that as a defensive mistake, but that kind of goes to both players. Again, that counts against Scottie Barnes' record. It is what it is. Now this is later in the fourth quarter. Scottie guarding one-on-one against Markelle Fultz. Does a good job staying in front of him. Markelle gives him a bump here. Again, Scottie Barnes, a bigger player. Maybe should be a little bit stronger here, but not too bad. Stays in front of him. Markelle Fultz gets this off. And this is a pretty tough shot. Maybe you could have a better contest on this, but I think you kind of live with it. You're hoping Scottie cuts him off a little earlier, but again, similar this time, Markelle Fultz gets downhill, and this is going to be a stupid play again, but we will rewind just to get to it. So you'll see Mo Wagner contested in the lane, and I want to rewind just to show you what happened here. So Fred gets screened here, but it's not a real screen. And what happens here is that Fred and OG have to communicate whether or not this is going to be a switch. They don't really. They choose not to switch. In this case, OG doesn't really hedge much, so Fultz has a straight line drive effectively to the rim. There's nobody between him. Fred VanVleet's still behind the play, and OG's already going back to recover on Paolo Banchero. So now it becomes Pascal Siakam's responsibility to step in. He does a pretty decent job of stepping in, recovers quickly, cuts off that lane at the rim. What that means is that now Mo Wagner gets a clear lane to the rim, and he will do that. He catches out by the jump circle. Both Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam have come in. They both jump off, give a hard contest. Mo Wagner, though, has momentum, finishes. To be honest, the mistake there, maybe, clearly OG and Fred have to communicate a little bit better at the point of attack on that screen that kind of put all the Raptors behind the play. But that's a pretty decent contest. You kind of have to live with that being the made shot. So saying that Scottie Barnes is a bad defender because 90% of the shots went in, and most of these are contested. They weren't terribly bad. There were maybe about 2 or 3 clear mistakes by Scottie, but otherwise not terrible. Related to what is in the stat, and that is why this stat sucks. The one thing we can look at for next game, I think, is probably just that number. How many shots did he contest? And as that goes up. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about was defensive rebounding. There's been a lot of talk about Scottie's activity in the game, and in previous years, he's averaged a few more rebounds, but his rebounding number is more or less the same, but there's a little bit of a difference. So I just wanted to take a quick look at this. So if we look at, not the defense dashboard, but the rebound dashboard, and we look at last year, and this is a slight difference, but this is just something I'm going to look at moving forward. Averaged 7.5 rebounds last year. Of those, he had 1.2 contested defensive rebounds, 1.6 contested offensive rebounds. He's hitting the offensive glass a lot more, 2.6 offensive rebounds. And and just 2.8 contested rebounds total. So 37% of his rebounds were contested, meaning there was another defender around. This season, however, slight change. One, his offensive rebounds are down about 1.9 a game. That's not a significant amount. Defensive rebounds are up a bit more, but almost all of his rebounds are coming uncontested. Even the offensive rebounds, a significant portion of them are uncontested, which is fine. I guess that means he's getting a good offensive rebounding positioning, but he's also not winning his contested rebounds. He's down about 31%. Again, statistically, maybe not that big of a difference because you're talking about a couple rebounds here and there. It's probably a very small sample size, but definitely something I want to keep looking at and looking into is because rebounding is 100% about effort and ability. So Scottie Barnes, super long guy. If he's applying himself in a game, the best ways that he can get the ball is rebounding. If he gets a defensive rebound, he gets to, push off that rebound and start the break. When he gets an offensive rebound, that's his to take. And realistically, when Pascal Siakam's drawing to, when Fred VanVleet is getting a switch on a big and taking a three, you should be able to get that rebound. And we had that case in the last video. Fred VanVleet drew a big out, took a bad three-point shot, to be honest, amongst, a bunch of other ones that he missed that were pretty good ones, but a bad three-point shot early in the clock. But he had the big man on him, and there was no big man down low, so Scottie Barnes was able to, in the paint, basically had the switch on small and was able to get the offensive rebound and was fouled on it. So that's where Scottie can impact the game and find more. Overall, defensively, I would like to see his contest kind of go up. That contest number was kind of low in that last game, but again, as we just saw in all these clips, a lot of times with defense, it comes down to team-wide effort, and you're going to hope for a better team-wide effort next game. And also, these defensive stats stuck. So next time someone tells you, oh, Scottie's a trash defender because 90% of the shots went in, just remember these stats are garbage, and they're really not worth much unless you actually go and look at the film. So that's the whole video. And yeah, got nothing else to really say. So peace.